Hey Stampin' friends, welcome to the Joy of Stamping with Rachel. I'm Rachael Coon and it's our Wednesday's kit class. Today I'll be showing how to make 4 cards using the Pierced Blooms dies and the In Bloom stamp set. Go ahead and hold while I flip and we'll get started. All right, make sure you guys can see everything really nice and well. Here are our 4 cards of the day. First though, if you are new to our Wednesday's kit class, here's how they work. I will show you how to make these cards, and when you order between now and Friday, you'll get the paper kit. So everything that to make this kit in the mail from me when you use a $35 order online using the hostess code. I'll show you some things and suggestions of things I think you would need in order to finish your kit, but for the most part, you can substitute things that you need to stamp with whatever you might have currently in your own craft room. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm featuring the In Bloom stamp set today, and I'm using this stamp set, this stamp right here, the Happy Birthday, You Really Are the Best, and a couple other of these little leaf items. Other than that, I'm using a lot of the Pierced Bloom dies, which are these amazing dies. Let me show you a little bit. There's a lot of them. I'm trying to think. There's 25 dies in this one. And you see they have this beautiful stitch look to it, which is pretty fabulous. I love it. And it looks, they're called pierced, but it really does have a kind of a stitch look. And they are builder parts to our flowers. So we'll have different centers, and we'll have different sizes of our blooms, and we'll have different leaf shapes even. It's a really awesome set. The 2 bonus items with these dies is this fun bow you can make, and also this awesome stitch label. All right, let me go ahead and get started. I have a couple different styles. Our first card I'm going to show you today is this one right here, and it shows off just using the cardstock and making flowers and a little bit of the stamp set. These 2 right here feature the In Blooms DSP, which is not In Blooms, the Paper Blooms DSP, which is a celebration item now through the end of February. And I wanted to feature how to make these flowers using that paper. And lastly, this one doesn't use the die at all, and I'll show you how you can make this flower using that same Paper Blooms paper. All right, you guys, let me go ahead and get everything ready for you. We're going to do this purple one first. I'm using the Purple Posy, and that's one of their in colors that will be retiring the end of May. Oh no, but the end of April, I think. Our catalog is coming out earlier this year because we're switching up our time frame. And so this color will be gone before you know it. So if you love this Purple Posy, be sure to stock up. All right, so we have our regular card base measuring at the 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4 1/4. I then have used a whole piece of card front. So it measures the exact same size as the front of the card to cover. I personally don't like having things embossed on the inside of my card, and so if I want the whole thing to be covered up or cover up the whole front of the card, I will go ahead and do a double layer. So I'll emboss this one and leave this one smooth on the inside. Then we have our basic white, and it's been stitched for us today in a rectangle, and then I have our little pieces of our flowers up here that we will build those in just a little bit. I did go ahead and already make our little banner, which was a 3.5 by 1 inch, I believe, or 3/4 of an inch. I'll have to double check my blog afterwards. And I did that in the gorgeous grape ink for it. And I flagged both ends using the banner, pick a banner punch. All right. And of course, I have these little stitch circles as well for our smaller ones. There we go. The great thing about this die is that it will cut out multiples when you're doing it. So you don't have to run it over and over again. It plans for you to already have making more than one flower, which is pretty nice. All right, let me go ahead and grab our foam mat, and we'll get stamping our little green right here first. Okay, put that into view right there on our stitch rectangle. you want to have your dies kind of in a placement to give you an idea of where you want your stems to be, kind of like that, to give you a reference, and then we'll move them out as needed. And then we're going to start with our center stem first, and I'm using that Granny Apple Green for these cards. And what we're going to do is go ahead and ink that up. And I'm going to ink this one the whole way. I'm going to go just about center, but I'm going to have it a little bit about a centimeter from the top, or sorry, from the bottom right there. We'll press it down. Awesome. Next, I'm going to go ahead and wipe it clean because I only want it to be a smaller stem this time. Make sure it's fairly dry. Dry it off a little bit on my scrap grid paper. And I'm going to take it to my ink pad, and I'm going to go about 3/4 of the way and only ink it up 3/4, like that. It leaves me about 1 inch there. And I'm going to go ahead and angle it so it's coming off from the bottom here for my next flower. And the same thing for that other side. Just ink it up 3/4 of the way and have it angling that way. They don't have to completely meet at this bottom here because that will be covered up with our banner. So it's okay if that part looks weird, and it's okay if our tops look a little bit off as well because those will be covered with our flowers too. All right, next we're going to go ahead and grab the bigger leaf, and we're going to ink that up and put a nice leaf right about here. And we'll do the same thing to the other side. Another leaf on this side. Again, this bottom half will be mostly covered, but if you want to add some extra leaves down there too, for anything that pops out, you can use the smaller leaf now. Make sure that it looks like it has a little spot right there. Let me see if I can wipe that off first. We'll try it again. Okay. Ink that up. And I'm going to have these ones kind of come maybe that way a little bit. Again, these might not show up very much at all. There we go. Awesome. And that's all the stamping for this one since I've already done that label. And now we just need to assemble and work on these flowers. And take my foam mat out. And let's go ahead and glue down our card front right here. First, I'm going to use our liquid glue. And this one I've embossed with the Subtles embossing folder, which is one of my favorite go-tos for simple backgrounds. It just adds a great amount of texture to it and gives it a nice clean look. For this one, we're also just going to use liquid glue. We're not going to pop up this one because our flowers will have the pop to it, and so will our happy birthday label. Hopefully you guys can catch my theme of all the cards today. Not only are they floral for spring, but they're happy birthday. I have a happy birthday only card class coming up, or card camp class, stamp camp, there we go, in March, because I know birthdays are one of my favorite things kinds of cards that I always need to have. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking my bone folder and I'm just going over these flowers just a little bit to lightly curl them. And I'll do that with all three, just very lightly. We don't want them to be super curly. We don't want them to pop up too much because they still have to go in an envelope and go to someone's home. And we don't want it to be unable to deliver. And this one's even smaller, so it honestly doesn't even need hardly anything at all, just a little bit of the bending. All right, let's go ahead and add our yellow centers with our liquid glue. You use a glue dot if you want this part to pop up a little bit more, or just use that liquid glue here, like that. You're gonna use the bigger one for your gorgeous grape. See that one, okay? And I love how kind of lopsided it looks. Like it's not a perfect circle. It's kind of a oblong circle, which makes it has so much more character. Okay. So aren't these so pretty? Look at that. all that piercing. I know I call it stitch usually, but it is more of a hole punch versus a stitch line. And you can tell the difference. Let me show that to you right now. When you look at these two, those are more of the stitch where it has the lines, and that's the piercing that has those little holes instead. All right, now we're just going to grab some dimensionals and pop these up onto our front of our card. I'm going to go ahead and start with the purple one, the darker purple first, which is that gorgeous grape. And we're going to put our flower just like that. And we'll grab our next two. And you just want to have it kind of on the end of these stems, right there. And it's okay if it goes over some of that white rectangle because we have space on the side still. So it'll still fit in our envelope. Go ahead and add about 3 dimensionals to the back of this guy. And let's add it to our front of our card. And this one, we want to have it kind of, there we go. So it looks like it's underneath both of those flowers a little bit. And we have our peeking through of our stem from the bottom. Love it. All right, that should be dry. Let's go ahead and use our bone folder. And we'll get that nice and creased. And then we have our first card featuring more of the cardstock flower versus the DSP flower. I love that one. Super fun and pretty easy. All right, let's set those ones aside and we'll get ready for the next card, which should be this one right here. And this one is featuring our DSP to make our flowers, which gives that really cool multicolored look to it, which is a lot of awesome look without too much effort. Usually what I'd have to do to make that myself would be to sponge onto a piece of basic white and make that different coloring with it. So I'm happy that I can just use the DSP, which looks like this. And you see where I've got this guy right here. And I've ran it through with my dies through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And I've created these awesome flowers just like that from these kind of weird shaped circles. I've seen some people use this as a background, which looks really cool. And you can see the other side is awesome as well. But I like to use it just to cut out these different flowers. And you can see how cool it is, how it has different tones, even within that whole circle. All right, and this is a celebration paper, by the way. And this is something you can get for free when you order $50 worth. Okay, so these pieces, this one's pretty easy as well. And I'm using actually a different stamp. This is from the Peaceful Moments stamp set that has some really great sayings. So that's why I grabbed this one. And I like this one because it fits super in the label. There's a couple labels that would fit in with this one, but the happy birthday one was not it. So happy birthday would not fit into this one. The you're amazing and you mean so much would fit in that label. But I wanted all these to be happy birthday today. All right, let's get all of our pieces out and ready. I have a regular Night of Navy card base going with that 8.5 by 5.5 scored at the 4 1/4. And then I have 2 layers, one with a DSP and one of the Rococo Rose. And these are just 1/8 of an inch difference from each other. Let's go ahead and glue those down now. So they're ready to go, and we'll attach that to our base. We also have a Whisper White or the basic white, depending on what you have in your craft room still, for the inside. Since this is a Night of Navy, and it needs a little bit more, it needs a spot for you to write on because it's such a dark card base. Okay, let's get this in here. I'll glue this one in. And then we will glue in also that basic white. I'm not going to stamp anything on the inside of the card right now, but you totally could even add some more of the stamped blossoms if you wanted to, and that would be perfect. Let me grab my stamping seal and get it going. There we go. About 3 strips on there, and we'll flip it and stick it. Just like that. Awesome. All right. This guy, we need to stamp the happy birthday and the Night of Navy. It's the color that coordinates really great with this, and it matches our card base as well. Let's go ahead and ink that up. And I know all my colors I always want to use with paper because Stampin' Up! Tells me what colors they use to create it. Awesome, that happy birthday turned out great. And then we just need to add some dimensionals to the back of this one. Like I said, this one's really simple. When you do dimensionals for this one, try to keep them more in the center and keep your ends a little bit free. So if we need to put anything underneath it, we have a little bit of wiggle room. Okay, let's go ahead and put that mostly center for us. About top center is what I would lay it. There we go. We're going to do the same thing to these flowers. We're going to take our bone folder and just curl them ever so slightly. Just a little bit. There we go. Got both of them. And we'll do that as well to our bigger leaves. These leaves are so cool. These are the old olive ones from that Paper Blooms paper. It sounds funny saying Paper Blooms paper, but that's what it is. All right. Lastly, we need to go ahead and add our centers, which are these cut out from the DSP, and these just tiny little flowers for the center. We use our liquid glue, just like that. And I'll put it in the middle there. For this guy right here, we want to actually add his, oh, there we go. We want to add his, let's stick it to my finger. There we go. Hopefully that will stay. We'll let it dry. Add this leaf to this one before we attach it. So I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit of glue on the end of it and put it underneath there at a little bit of an angle. You want it between the petals and push it in just a little bit. Let's grab a dimensional for the back. And we'll cover up some of that leaf spot right there. Remove the backing and add it to our corner right here. And my actual dimensional should be on, not on the label, but kind of around it right there. For this one, we're going to put the dimensional more towards the top and have it overlap it like that. There we go. Let's go ahead and sneak in this little leaf on this side. Add just a little bit of liquid glue to the bottom. A glue dot would work great right here as well. Let's put that in there maybe. Let it glue down. I might sneak a little bit more glue underneath it as well. Okay. There we go. And lastly, we have this cute little leaf right here. And we'll just put a little bit of glue on the back side. Oh, I did a lot of bit of glue. Luckily, that part will be hidden underneath it. I just want to put that right about there. Just kind of give that flare of leaf to it and that little extra embellishment. So for our centers of these flowers right here, I went ahead and grabbed our opal rounds, which are these really cool, kind of a centery glitter, but a clear embellishment. We'll grab those out and just grab the smaller ones and put them into the center of each of your flowers. Just like that. Love it. Super cute. Let's grab our bone folder and we'll finish off this card. We have 2 happy birthdays using that DSP to make those awesome pierced blooms. All right, let's go on to the next one. Our next one is very similar, has that same DSP that we use, but it has a different layout. Just kind of give you different ideas of how you can arrange them and how to use up this DSP as a background piece. So this one we're using a basic white card base, that same measurement as for the others, which is at 5.5 by 8.5 inches by scored at 4 1/4. And then we have these pieces of DSP, and I've die cut all the flowers, all the blooms, and I've die cutted the stitch circle and a layering circle. I love how these layering circles look. And I just did the largest stitched one, and I went ahead and I'm going to have it layered with that right there. Let's go ahead and stamp this one first. And then with that same happy birthday from the Peaceful Moments stamp set, let me grab, there we go, right there. Happy birthday. We'll ink it up in the Night of Navy and put it in this kind of this left bottom corner. Oh, and I didn't do that very well at all. So what I could do is go ahead and die cut another one or leave it just like that. And I'm going to go through with my Stampin' Right marker and fix it on this one so that way we can continue the video. I should have made a spare of that circle, but I did not. So we will just keep it going and I will fix my oops later, I promise. With my Stampin' Right marker, I'll just go right over it. All right, so let's go ahead and put some glue on the back of this guy and attach it to our Rococo Rose scalloped circle. I need to turn it though because this card is going to go this way. And let's add our DSP. You could have either sides. This one matched that card we just made earlier, or you can have it more of this, the Night of Navy with the little white flowers instead. I put a little bit of glue and line this up just right. You're going to go just about maybe 2.5 centimeters, maybe half an inch over from the side. You can use your grid paper to help you line that up just right. Let's put some dimensionals on the back of these. I'm going to at least have 5, I want to say, for this one. This is a main piece. You want to make sure it sticks on there well. And 5 is a good amount. It gets us the corners and the center. Let's go ahead and add this on. You want to have it covering half of the DSP and then over onto the white as well. All right, you ready to make some more flowers? I think you guys could probably tell me how to do it at this point. You can grab your bone folder, flip it over so it's facing down, go over your edges just a little bit, like that. And we'll do that to all 3 of our flowers. If you don't have a bone folder, which I highly recommend, but if you don't have one, I would suggest you could use even a pen to help kind of curl these just a little bit. And it's very delicate, so you don't need to be hard on these. You just need to go very softly over those. All right, hopefully that's it. Let's go ahead and start building these flowers. We'll put the center pieces to them. And these ones, again, I'm still using that same DSP, so it matches amazing for these centers. And I did the opposite for this one. So this one has a pink center, and the pink ones have a blue center, which is pretty fun. Okay. For our leaves, let's go ahead and grab this one right here. And we are going to attach it to the back of this one. Just use a little bit of liquid glue. And put it behind there, enough that you pop up to see the color. And let's grab a dimensional and put that on the back of our flower. This one also has a little leaf coming out, which I just have went ahead and cut. This one comes off into 2. So I go ahead and just take your paper snips and you'll cut it in half. And then you can sneak those under some of your flowers as well. Oh no, I laid it down. There we go. I took off the back end and I forgot about it, huh? Let's go ahead and put the other leaf on this side. Kind of like that. And we're going to go ahead and put it mostly center for this one. And up there. And we'll grab our other flowers. This one you want first, and then we'll put these ones underneath. If you don't want these ones to pop up, you could just use liquid glue at this point, or even a glue dot. I'm going to use glue dots to attach these ones, because we want that center one to be our main focus. So we'll add just another wreath of flowers right here. And we'll add this one. Glue dot. There we go. And we also want a leaf on this one. So let's go ahead and attach this one. So add a little glue either to your leaf or to the back of your flower, just depending how you like to do it. There we go. And we'll stick this one in just like that. Looking great. I love that. It looks like a wreath right now of flowers. Lastly, I have this awesome bow that came with these dies. I'm going to take out this little hole with my paper snips. There we go. That didn't come out completely with the die, so if you just use your paper snips to poke out those pieces, they come right out. We're going to use a glue dot to attach this one and put it right here on the bottom. Super cute. This one, we're going to use rhinestones for the center of our flowers. And just grab these tiny little ones and just put it in the middle of each one. If you have tweezers, that would work great right here. Or take a pick tool, even work to help you slide these off. Sometimes I'm good at it. Sometimes I wish I used a tool, but I'm usually too lazy to grab it and just use my fingernails. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and grab our bone folder and we will get this nice for our crease. Cute. Love it. And I will fix that so it doesn't say just happy birthday. We'll make sure it says day before I send this one out using my Stampin' Right marker. All right, the last one. You guys ready? This one takes a little bit more time, but it's not too bad. I want to show you a cool trick of how we got this flower here. So I'm using a Rococo Rose card base. That same card base measurements where I have it that 5.5 by 8.5 inches scored at 4 1/4. That's our card base. Also, this is a little darker pink, so you might want to also have a piece of basic white for the inside. And I have this DSP from that Paper Blooms, which measures at 5.5 by 2.5 inches. And I have this strip of cardstock, that's Night and Navy, and we're going to go ahead and just glue those two together. I like to put the glue on this, well, we're actually going to put it on this side right here. So we'll glue on the very end, and then we'll attach this. I'm going to show you how you're going to kind of just shimmy it. See how it's wiggling for me? That's why we're using that liquid glue, so I can move it where I need it to fit and how wide I want it to show. We're just having a very tiny bit of it show out, just to give that extra little coloring. Go and put the liquid glue on it and attach it to our card base. This one, we have maybe, if maybe, 1/4 of an inch. It's a very small line right there on that border. Then we're going to have our stitch rectangle, which I have embossed with a painted texture embossing folder, which is one of my favorites. If you look at this, you just want to feel it and how awesome these like painted strokes look like on there. This one we will add dimensionals to. Going to put just a handful or so. I'm going to put 6 so we have even on each side. And we're going to flip this over. Just like that. And we'll add it to our card front. Again, you want it to have it hang over a little bit on this side and have it on our DSP. Just like that. Lay it down. All right, next I have to do 2 fussy cutting. So this flower right here comes actually from the DSP. So if I flip it over, you would see a whole nother side of what the paper would look like. So it's not white on the back. It has that double-sided designer series paper. So we're going to take our paper snips and patiently cut this out. And also we're going to fussy cut that happy birthday as well. All right. So we're just going to take our scissors and start from the bottom and work our way around it. You can go close as you want to it or give it a little bit of that white outline. Because it's white on white, you can get away with not cutting super close. However, I really like cutting close on these Night and Navy leaves, and then the stem, I didn't mind having that border a little bit. And same with my flower petals, I'm okay having a little bit of that white border. Just like that. Make sure you guys can see this okay, sorry. There we go. I'm just going to rotate your paper and have your paper snips go through. When you use your paper snips, you're not going to use the tip of it. You're going to come into further into the inner part of your scissors and just keep on doing little cuts. Turning your paper. Fussy cutting kind of gets a bad rap where people don't like to do it very often. But when you have such beautiful paper like this and this great floral image, it's a really good skill to have and a great time to practice, especially since this is the free paper. And each sheet comes with about 3 of these size of flowers, and you'll get 2 sheets. So you can probably get 6 cards with this flower design. There are other flowers you could also fussy cut from this DSP. It's pretty amazing. I'm going to be super sad when I can't play with it anymore and share it with you guys after February. So this whole week, you're going to see a lot of me sharing these celebration items. Well, I still can. After this, they'll be part of my Throwback Thursday group. And I'll have to use the paper up for other projects. All right, we're almost done with this flower. Thanks for hanging in there. There's that one. When pieces get too big, I usually will continue the cut all the way through, because I don't want to have it just dangling there and causing heavy weight. Okay, almost done. That right there. Awesome. Then you're just going to take some liquid glue on the back of it and go over it lightly. I like to go a little to each petal, kind of like that. A little line down your stem and to each of your leaves. There we go. Let's flip this over and we'll add it to our sticked rectangle, and we're just going to have it kind of go at an angle here. Not straight on, having it kind of point like it's growing that way. Next, we're going to fussy cut this one. This embossing paper right here, there might have been a spot right here that I could have, but because I really wanted this texture and I want the same there, it would have been really hard for me to stamp on something so bumpy and have it come out looking nice. So instead, we're going to just stamp it on with that basic white and cut it out, and then it'll just kind of blend with that background. If you wanted to pop it up, you could use dimensionals. I went ahead and kept it flat to kind of disguise that it's not part of the paper. You'll never know. So this white on white. I'll just stick that right there. Awesome. So lastly for this one, we're going to use those opal rounds again, which are those amazing embellishments. And we're going to take a larger one for this center right here. And then we'll add just a couple of more of the small ones. So we'll have 3 on this guy. We'll put one down here and one more up here in this corner. Let's quickly add that basic white to the inside of our card, so that way we have somewhere to write on this later. So flip this over, put this inside, just like that. Grab this bone folder, start to fold it, and then finish the fold with your bone folder. And there's that fun card using the DSP for that flower image. How awesome is that? Love it. So we have this one that we've made using our DSP. Also these ones to make our DSP flowers. These ones also have a big panel of the DSP, also with the DSP flowers too. And lastly, this one is a little different. It uses cardstock for our flowers instead of any of the DSP, just to show you kind of different ideas of how you can use the stamp set with these dies. All right, you guys, I hope you had a wonderful time watching and have a great week. Happy stamping, everyone. Goodbye.